Welcome to the Common Room. Yes, it is episode 8. Who could believe it? We've made it this far, people. Yes, welcome along. We are on Unicast, and my name is Brayden Green, and I am your host, and I'm always joined by my great co-host, who is...
Ashleigh McFadden, or as all the cool kids call me, the McFadster.
No one calls you that.
They could start calling me that.
Well, they could, couldn't they?
It's a pretty cool name, right? The McFadster.
No, it's not.
You just don't know what cool is.
Probably not. Let's be real.
All right, I want everyone who writes into the show at commonroomunicast@gmail.com to start off with Brayden Green and the McFadster.
Speaking of the fans, thank you to everyone that has given us over 100 likes on Facebook now. It's a slow start, but it's nice.
100 likes. It's like we're Kim Kardashian.
I think that would probably make us one of the most popular shows on Unicast as well.
Yeah, we're famous. We're going to take over the internet. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Google Podcasts. We're on Anchor FM. We're slowly taking over the internet, taking over your ear space.
We're getting there. We're getting there. Anyway, it is time to get in the show. And Ash, have you heard the news? The Northern Territory is trying to get people up there for tourism. And what they're doing is giving you a set discount of $200 off for every $1,000 spent on an NT booking made through certain partners. And you have an up to a maximum of $1,000 discount. This is interesting.
Oh, it's great. It should get people up to the Northern Territory. I've never been. I've always wanted to go, but I'm terrified of crocodiles.
Yeah, I've never been either. I've always wanted to go to Kakadu. I mean, I do want to see the crocs, especially the big salties. I think it would be interesting.
Well, they're terrifying. They're massive. They could eat your face in like one bite.
They're terrifying, but I just find them interesting. I just like, I don't know why. They're absolutely terrifying. Wouldn't want to get nowhere near them, but I just want to really learn more about them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you relate to them. They're cold and reptilian.
Harsh.
Oh, I'm sorry, that was a bit harsh. Talking about these holiday stuff, have you heard about what they've done in Sydney? The flights from Sydney to nowhere.
What do you mean, to nowhere?
Well, basically, they're selling these flights, and might I say, they're like $5,000 a ticket. You take a flight, 7 hours.
Up to $5,000 ticket.
You're going around, you look at some of the sites around Australia, and then you come back down, and you haven't actually gone anywhere.
So hang on. How long is the flight? Let's work out the difference. How long is this flight?
7 hours.
7 hours, right. So a 7-hour sightseeing trip.
Pretty much. And you'd be absolutely spewing if you don't get the window seat.
Oh, well, that's a really good question. Do they rotate the seat? Or
They surely can't because of the COVID situation. They'd probably have to keep one seat apart and all that sort of safety stuff.
Why don't they, okay, one very long window each side.
Maybe.
Make it almost like a cinema.
I reckon I'd do the thing that you get on those boats and just have the glass floor.
That would actually be terrifying, I think. You imagine takeoff? Unless it's going to be like a sunroof where you could like close it, like, you know, and then they open it up when you're in the middle of the sky. But I would absolutely...
It's glass, Brayden. It's not an actual hole in the plane.
No, not an actual hole. But, you know, like you cover the glass up, like to not see, almost like the window shades, like a giant one of those. But what I'm more terrified, to be honest, if it didn't get covered up, the landing would be absolutely terrifying. Can you think
like the
think
sudden
about it?
bump on impact, and you see it as it hits the ground, and you're going, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah, like the bouncing and
the bouncing that you always get on planes.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've had some terrible landings on planes. One of the worst ones is when I went to New Zealand, and the plane literally went left to right as it landed. It was absolutely terrifying.
Because they get those winds because they've got all the big mountains around them, so it's always difficult landing in New Zealand. I'll tell you the time when we went to New Zealand on my honeymoon with my wife. And, of course, they have to make you be seated for the last hour of the trip because there's just so many hills around.
Yeah.
And she needed to go to the toilet so badly during that point. Like, it was chronic. She was, like, squirming and she was like, this is the worst pain I've ever had. And literally, as we landed, she was first to take off her seatbelt and she ran for that toilet and everyone's going, oh, what? I really need to pee. I really need to pee. And that is how we started our lovely honeymoon in New Zealand.
I'd love to see all the air hostesses and everything. Like, ma'am,
Ma'am, where are you going? We haven't said it's safe to leave yet. I need to go to the toilet. You can't stop me anymore.
It won't be safe if you don't let me leave.
You're going to flood the plane or something. She was desperate, and she hadn't gone for an hour, and the seatbelt sign is just on that whole time. You can't get up because because of the terrain in New Zealand. It's all mountains and all that. They have to negotiate that.
With that glass window idea as well, bird strikes would be genuinely quite terrifying.
I was seeing the birds below you and thinking, what happens if they're just a few hundred meters up
And then
and they
just
get
suddenly-
into the plane jets?
And just see a seagull or whatever, just like blood scraping across
Or the bottom of the plane.
Yeah, looking like, you know how you get in like horror films sometimes, like that hand's being like being dragged and slid through mud and like blood and everything.
I'm just getting that with the birds or like locusts or whatever bugs are up there.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to hit a skydiver, which just.
Well, I'm usually sure they check for skydivers before they take off, but who knows? I'm no pilot. But would you do it? Would you take this 7-hour flight to nowhere?
No way I would do it. Like, because they're advertising this on looking at great sites. There's even one of them, you get to look at the Great Barrier Reef. If I'm going to look at the Great Barrier Reef, I want to dive inside it, have a look around. Oh, look at all these beautiful fish and everything. There's not really much to see from the air.
Well, it's quite ironic that you're in an aeroplane looking at the Great Barrier Reef when aeroplanes have destroyed the Great Barrier Reef.
I don't think it's not just aeroplanes, but there's a hell of a
It's
lot
not
of those
helping.
Well, it's not helping, but a heck of a lot of the industries down there just pour sludge basically into it, and they're just like, oh, yeah.
Come to our tourist oasis, sludge.
Yeah, no. It does amaze me how they treat it. But anyway, my whole point on this...
My point, before we started talking about planes with glass bottoms...
Absolutely shocking idea. The Northern Territory getting people up there, right? I think you can have state of origin tourism games. Do you get what I mean?
No, please explain.
So every state should think of their own ideas to grab tourists, and whoever gets the most tourists by the end of the year, gets a prize.
I'll make it into a competition. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Yeah, I don't mind that idea at all. Now, people who can't really compete at the moment, Victoria, for obvious reasons.
Yeah, we'll give them a handicap like golf or something.
WA, well, they don't want to compete. They said no. They were the only state that didn't want people in by Christmas. So instead of giving the people anything, they're just basically giving you the bird. It's as simple as that.
And I don't think they get a handicap for being jerks like that. I'm going to say it. Western Australia, you're being jerks. Let people in.
I mean, it is interesting, but I think so. I've created a bit of a battle plan, all right? South Australia, okay, we need to think, what can we give? We don't want to give money, so we can give wine. We have got some of the best wine in the world. Say if you spend $200, you get 2 free bottles from any winery in South Australia that you desire, and it's got a value of under 100.
I think that's a great idea. People would do anything for a free drink. Have you been to any university club? It's always empty, but if you say this is a university club with free beer, it's packed. You can't get through.
Maybe that's what we should do for Challenge Accepted.
That's how we're going to get people in.
Drink responsibly.
Yes, of course, yes.
Queensland. Well, they've got the massive advantage. For me, they just give free tickets to theme parks.
They've got the choice of theme parks up there as well.
Yeah, buy one, get one free. They'd have heaps of people just come for that, Easy as easy. Tasmania, maybe some free camping locations, spend a certain amount of money, get some free, because, it's one of the best places to camp. I think that's really easy. Maybe you get a free tour around the Cadbury factory. Far out. I know where I would be going in that situation. Canberra, they've got museums, some of the best museums, the Australian War Museum. They've got other pretty sites going down, is it Lake Billy Griffiths or the lake?
The lake down there, yeah.
Yeah, my point is you get even tours down Parliament House. So there's a different sort of audience down there. So we can easily do that. I haven't really worked out Sydney's. Maybe a free pass to Sydney Opera House, something like that. Maybe if we are allowed concerts again one day.
Trip to Luna Park.
Trip to Luna Park, Taronga Zoo, stuff like that.
Oh yeah, they got great things in Sydney.
Yeah.
Maybe they can let them go on one of these flights. That will bring in the tourists, won't it?
I just don't think they've thought that through.
Why would you want to get on a plane voluntarily to be squashed in those tiny seats? I don't think they're putting you in first class on these flights. To go round for 7 hours, 2 hours, that'd be a nice trip. That'd be a nice trip. I might do that. But I guess everything in Australia is so far away, it has to take 7 hours.
I don't know. I genuinely can't explain that one and why you would want to. I mean, if you get, for example, Sydney Harbour Bridge, you want to be up close to it to kind of get the size, I would have thought.
Oh, you've seen those people climbing it.
Yeah.
Like they do it the Adelaide Oval. They probably stole it from us, I reckon, that idea.
By the way, the Canberra Lake was Lake Burley Griffin, so did my research. Maybe a bit late, but my
Still
point was
did it. And that's what we do on the show. We fact check.
We fact check.
Maybe not before the show, but during the show or after.
If you have tourism ideas, remember, get in contact with us on Facebook, Twitter, whatever it may be. Get in contact. I'd love to think of an idea. I think this is great. Even just for the estates, you can have like little domestic competitions within your own state.
Yeah, the Barossa would kill.
Yeah. We got this. We got this, people. Anyway, it is time for a break. You are listening to The Common Room on Unicast.